It began on a typical Friday night when I invited my friend, Emily, over for dinner. The plan was simple: unwind, catch up, and share some laughs. What I hadn't expected was for the night to take a sudden, memorable turn. My stepson Alex had just returned from college, and I thought it would be nice to include him. He'd always been polite and courteous, yet that night, there was something different about him, though I couldn't quite pinpoint it. As I was preparing dinner in the kitchen, Emily arrived, radiating her usual effortless elegance. She had a glow, and her laughter brought a sense of warmth to the room. I loved her company, as her energy always seemed to brighten everything. Alex joined us shortly afterward. Offering to lend a hand, I looked at him. Noticing how much he had changed, taller, more self-assured, he had a presence that was hard to ignore. His gaze lingered on me for just a moment, longer than I expected, but I brushed it off, assuming I was imagining things. We all gathered at the table, the atmosphere light and relaxed, with wine flowing and conversations moving seamlessly across different topics. Emily, as always, was lively and easily captured Alex's attention. Exchanging lighthearted jokes and banter, I smiled, thinking it was harmless given their age difference. But as the evening went on, Alex's demeanor shifted subtly. His looks toward Emily became more intent, and I noticed him watching her when he thought no one else was looking. A strange tension began to settle in the room, though I couldn't quite place why. As they continued talking, Emily playfully rested her hand on Alex's arm. While laughing at something he'd said, I felt a flicker of jealousy, but quickly dismissed it as nothing serious. Yet Alex seemed to enjoy her attention, and when his eyes met mine across the table, there was a glint in his gaze that sent a chill down my spine. Then unexpectedly, Alex reached out and gently brushed a strand of hair from my face, his touch lingering slightly. It caught me by surprise, and for a fleeting moment, I saw something in his eyes that made my breath hitch. Emily, engrossed in conversation, hadn't noticed, leaving me with racing thoughts. As I tried to process what had just happened, as dinner continued, the atmosphere grew heavy with unspoken tension. Alex would glance my way now and then, his gaze intense, leaving me questioning everything. Was I imagining things? Or was there more to this family dinner than met the eye? Things took a bolder turn as we finished our meal. While clearing the table, Alex's hand brushed against my lower back. In a way that felt intentional, my body tensed and a flush rose to my cheeks. It was subtle but unmistakable. I looked at him and he smiled as though nothing had happened. But I knew what I'd felt, and it was undeniable. Oblivious to the building tension, Emily suggested we move to the living room for dessert. I agreed, trying to calm my thoughts. Was Alex flirting with me? Had he crossed a line? Glancing at Emily, a pang of guilt hit me, but I couldn't ignore the electric charge in the air. Each time Alex was nearby, we settled on the couch with Alex on one side and Emily on the other. As we talked, I felt Alex's leg brush against mine, and my pulse quickened with each slight movement. It seemed deliberate, as though he was testing the limits. Despite my efforts to focus on the conversation, my thoughts kept drifting to the soft touches, the lingering stares, and the magnetic pull between us. Then, as Emily got up to pour more wine, Alex leaned in close, his breath warm on my neck as he whispered, "You look beautiful tonight." His words sent a jolt through me, making it clear this was no accidental moment. He was testing boundaries I hadn't expected would ever be crossed. A rush of emotions filled me: confusion, excitement, guilt, and most intensely desire. Emily returned, breaking the moment. But the tension lingered. I couldn't look at Alex without feeling like something thrilling, yet dangerous, was happening right under her nose. My heart raced as I tried to keep the conversation light. But the air between Alex and me was charged, with a depth that went far beyond simple conversation. As the evening progressed, Alex grew bolder, his hand brushing against mine, and his foot nudging mine beneath the table. I could hardly believe what was happening. Yet I didn't pull away. There was something thrilling about the forbidden nature of it all, something that drew me in. Even as I knew it was wrong, Emily, still unaware of the growing tension between Alex and me, announced it was time for her to leave. I walked her to the door, feeling an odd mix of relief and guilt as I hugged her goodbye. I couldn't help but feel conflicted over what had unfolded during dinner. But when I turned back to Alex, his intense gaze banished any lingering guilt. With Emily gone, the house felt quieter, more private alone with Alex. The tension that had simmered all night finally came to a head. He stepped closer, his eyes never leaving mine, radiating warmth that heightened my senses. I knew I should step back, create distance, but I didn't. I stood still waiting, wondering what would come next. What happened was something I never could have anticipated. Without a word, Alex closed the gap between us, gently cupping my face as he leaned in and kissed me. The kiss began softly but quickly grew deeper as I responded, every rational thought fleeing as I surrendered to the moment, the tension that had built all night now finding its release. When we finally pulled apart, I was breathless, my heart racing. Alex looked at me, his eyes filled with desire, and something else I couldn't quite identify. I realized then that things between us would never be the same. A simple dinner with a friend had transformed into something much more complicated, something I wasn't sure how to handle. Yet even as I stood there trying to process what had happened, I couldn't deny that part of me was thrilled by the danger, the excitement, the intensity of it all. I didn't know where we'd go from here, but I was certain this was only the beginning. As the night unfolded, I found myself swept away, struggling to reconcile what had happened with what I knew was right. Alex waited, his gaze locked onto mine, an unmistakable hunger in his eyes that sent a shiver through me. I wanted to speak to break the thick silence between us, but words failed me. My mind raced with questions, doubts and feelings I wasn't ready to face. Alex took another step closer, his hand brushing mine, sparking another surge of electricity through my body. I'd never looked at him like this before. He'd always been my stepson, a part of my family, someone I cared for deeply, but never in this way tonight, however. Everything felt different. The boundaries I once held clear were now blurred, and I didn't know how to stop it. I've always felt something for you, Alex said at last, his voice slow and full of emotion. But tonight, I couldn't keep it in anymore. His words struck me like a wave. I could hardly believe what I was hearing. A mix of shock, confusion, and if I were honest, excitement washed over me. No one had ever looked at me the way Alex did in that moment, with such intensity, such raw desire. It was overwhelming, and part of me wanted to let go, to explore this uncertain and dangerous path. Yet another part of me screamed that it was wrong, that I needed to end it before things went too far. Alex, we can't, I whispered, though even as I said the words, I wasn't sure I believed them. My resolve was slipping, and I felt myself being drawn further into the moment. But why not, he pressed, his voice soft but insistent. I know you feel it too. I see it in the way you look at me, the way you reacted tonight. This isn't just one-sided. His words were like a mirror, reflecting back the feelings I tried so hard to deny. I couldn't argue with him. Deep down, I knew he was right. I did feel something powerful and undeniable. And as much as I wanted to dismiss it, to pretend it hadn't changed everything, I knew that wasn't possible anymore. Before I could respond, Alex stepped even closer, his hand moving slowly up my arm, sending waves of warmth through me. His touch was careful, as though waiting for permission to go further. And I realized then that I wasn't resisting. I'd already crossed a line, and there was no going back. I don't know what's happening between us, I finally admitted, my voice barely above a whisper. But it's not supposed to happen. Maybe it's not supposed to, Alex agreed, his eyes never leaving mine. But that doesn't mean it's wrong. Sometimes the things we want most are the ones we're afraid to admit to ourselves. His words lingered between us, weighted with meaning. Once again, he was right. I'd been suppressing my feelings, pushing them down, because they didn't align with the careful life I'd built. But here with Alex, in the quiet intimacy of this moment, I couldn't hide from them any longer. Without thinking, I reached out my hand, finding his face. My fingers traced the line of his jaw as he leaned into my touch, his eyes closing momentarily before opening again, filled with the same intensity as before. Before I realized it, I had closed the distance between us once more, pressing my lips to as in a kiss that felt both destined and forbidden. This time there was no hesitation, no doubt, only desire, tension and longing that had simmered between us all night. His arms wrapped around me, pulling me closer, and I could feel the warmth of his body against mine. Every touch, every kiss left my mind reeling, and I was completely absorbed in the sensation of it all. We stumbled back toward the couch, our lips never parting our hands, exploring each other with a desperate intensity that felt primal. When we finally collapsed onto the cushions, a surge of adrenaline coursed through me. I had never felt anything like this before, this level of intensity with anyone. It was both exhilarating and terrifying. As Alex's hands moved over my body, I felt my breathing quicken, my heart pounding in my chest. I knew we were crossing into dangerous territory, that there could be serious consequences. But at that moment, I didn't care. All that mattered was him, his touch, his kiss, the way he made me feel. For the next hour, the outside world faded away. It was just us, entwined in a web of passion and desire that I couldn't escape, even if I'd wanted to. Each kiss, each touch seemed to pull me further into the unknown, and I found myself willingly surrendering to it. But eventually, reality came crashing back down. As we lay on the couch, our breaths heavy, our bodies intertwined, I knew we'd crossed a line that couldn't be undone. A pang of guilt washed over me as I thought of Emily, of my husband, of everything that had just happened. What had we done? How could we ever return to the way things were? I pulled away from Alex, my mind racing with the gravity of what we'd just done. He looked at me concerned, flashing in his eyes. "Are you okay?" he asked softly, his hand reaching out to touch my arm. I nodded, though I wasn't sure if I meant it. I didn't know how to process any of this. I didn't know what was supposed to happen next. I just need to think, I whispered, standing up from the couch and smoothing down my clothes. This is a lot. Alex nodded, understanding, but I could see the pain in his eyes. He didn't want to stop, didn't want to confront what had just happened any more than I did. "I'll give you space," he said quietly, standing as well. "But please don't regret this." I looked at him, my heart heavy with the weight of his words. I didn't know if I regretted it. All I knew was that my life had changed, in ways I couldn't have anticipated, and I wasn't sure what to do next. As Alex left the room, I sank back onto the couch, my mind swirling with everything that had happened. I knew that things between us would never be the same, and that I had no idea how to handle the complicated reality we had just created. If you enjoyed this story and would like more suspenseful tales like this, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel. There's much more to come, and you won't want to miss a single moment of it.